this tutorial, we're going to talk about hammer-ons and pull-offs. We're going to start with the basic technique behind them, and then we'll talk about how to use them musically so we don't sound like robots and we can craft some musical lead lines and solos and that kind of thing. And then we'll go through a number of exercises that can help strengthen our fingers to where we can use these hammer-ons and pull-offs comfortably in our playing. All right, so to start, let's get our fingers on position 5 pentatonic in the key of C, also known as A blues. It will look like this. All right, all the scale, the exercises, and all of that will be tabbed out right beneath the video player at sixstringcountry.com. I just picked through that scale, and what we're going to talk about is how to use hammer-ons and pull-offs to where we could play it more like this. All right, so let's start with getting our finger right here, 5th fret of G, and then our ring finger is going to be hammering on to the 7th fret of G. All right, I'll try not to use as much vibrato as I usually would. During this section, we'll talk about that as part of how we're going to make it musical, but it's just a habit of mine, so I'll try not to. So if we do it without vibrato, just basic, it sounds like this. Okay, so there's a few things we need to talk about here. First, we're using our ring finger and we're trying to hammer down right in the sweet spot behind the fret. So if you get too close to the fret but beneath it, the 6th fret, or too on top of it, it's gonna not sound right? So there's a sweet spot that's right behind that 7th fret. And that's where we're aiming for. And notice that my ring finger's not starting way up here, and I'm not like just doing a super slam hard as I can on there, right? It's really starting maybe ½ inch to no more than an inch above the fretboard. And I'm trying not to do it too hard or too soft, but to use a velocity that's going to get me the same level of volume, at least for right now, that we have going on before we do the hammer-on. So on that 5th fret. If you do it too soft, you're just going to mute it. Too hard can sound funny too. You know, so we're just going for the right volume there when we do this hammer-on. And the power, you know, it's coming from this area of my hand. It's a little different. We'll talk about the pinky in just a second. But, you know, in this pentatonic box, we'll be using ring finger here, and we'll be using the pinky for here, and on the B string, and on the E string. And it's really, let's talk about the pinky here. Let's come up and do high E string, 5 to 8. It's pretty similar. It's a little harder on the pinky. You know, if you're just starting out with this technique, you might find that the pinky is a little harder to get to ring out and to sound good. But again, I'm not doing a super slam over here, starting way out here and kind of really forcing it on there. I'm starting about about ½ inch to an inch above the fretboard. And then the power is coming from here, and you can even see my wrist muscle right in here move just a little bit. Right, so we're just going for that same level of volume after we pick it to when we hammer it on. All right, the pull-off is what happens when we start higher on the fretboard, on the 8th fret here with the pinky, for example, and pull off down to anything below it. So in this case, we're going to go 8 to 5 for this pentatonic scale position. And we can do the same thing here where we were before from 7 to 5 on the G string. Let's start on the G string with our ring finger here. So we're not just simply lifting up. You lose a lot of velocity, a lot of volume that way. That's not really the sound we're going for. It's called a pull-off because we actually are pulling it down just a little bit. You can go too much, and then you can hurt, like that kind of hurt. And it will sound funny. You're actually doing a bend there. It's not a bend. You're just, you can think of it as almost plucking the string in a downward motion. So you can kind of see how I'm just plucking down, and just because of how our hands are shaped, you know, it's going to go kind of in this direction, and we're just doing a subtle pull-off. And again, we want that volume, at least for now, for the purposes of the tutorial. We want to be able to control how that volume sounds after the pull off on this 5th fret. We want it to be about the same. You can do it softer. Sorry, you can start loud and pull off softer. You can start soft and go loud. You know, but those are techniques that you might want to use or develop later down the road. But for now, let's try and get it about the same volume. All right, now we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to talk about the hammer-on and pull-off combination. So we're only picking that once. So I'm picking the 5th fret of G, I'm hammering on and then pulling off. And you can go into all different, we're going to do that, or most of that, in an exercise later on. But it's a technique that we use all the time in soloing and in lead lines. And so there's a few things we need to think about here. The technique of the hammer-on and the pull-off is really the same. But if we're doing a moving line like that, it doesn't work to just do it one by one string. We're going to need to kind of bar the fret that we're working on. And that's just one of the many reasons why guitar players love position 5 pentatonic, because we just have this bar right here, right? Actually, we can bar the whole thing. Now, chances are you're doing a riff, you can kind of focus on one string set. So for that, for example, we don't have time to go, it's a fast one. So we're going to want to bar the G through the high E string on the 5th fret, so we don't have to move that pointer finger every time. You may need to shift if you're going to do something like that, followed by, then you might need to shift it down one string, so now we're on the D to the B string. All right, so you can just mess around with that. This is a great position of the pentatonic scale to mess around with the hammer-on pull-off combination, and then, you know, go real slow at first. All right. I'm using a very basic tone here. It's a clean tone with just a little bit of reverb. One thing that can really help make this a lot easier if you're on an electric guitar is dialing up a nice, you know, blues or rock tone with some sustainability to it. So if you get a tone with some nice sustain, one of the little tricks that we can use that's really just the hammer-on pull-off combo would be a trill, something like this. Right? That's just hammer-on pull-off combo over and over and over and over and over, 5 to 7, back and forth. You know, it's a great blues trick. Some of these blues guys have such a good tone with such sustain that, you know, you could do this all day very easily. So, you know, having a good tone dialed in with some sustain really makes some of these hammer-on and pull-off exercises and tricks a little bit easier. All right, we're going to talk about how to make these hammer-ons and pull-offs musical, so we don't sound like a robot when we're playing these lead lines and these solos, or we're improvising. There's a number of different things we're going to talk about here of how we can do that, and then after that we're going to play through and work on some exercises that will really help us with our finger strength and get these hammer-ons and pull-offs in the hammer-on and pull-off combos feeling very good under our fingers. Okay, so we want to talk about a couple things. We've been limited to position 5 pentatonic. But we're going to add in here position 4 pentatonic and position 1 pentatonic. All right, so we're going to need to do that because part of what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about 3 things that can really help get this musical. We can add some vibrato in. We can do some bending, and we can do some sliding back and forth. So if we mix all those 3 things in, you know, this tutorial's not specifically about any of those 3 techniques, but if we can mix those in to what we're doing with hammer-ons and pull-offs, we can really start to make it musical. So, you know, instead of, you could go, that's just all in the same frets. But what sounds better if we go, or if we do something like, give it a little little vibrato. So we're sliding, we're doing some vibrato, little half bend, and ending on some vibrato. Whenever we stop, we can just, instead of just letting it sit there, sometimes you might want to just let it sit there for effect, but a lot of times we can just add a little vibrato in there and it keeps it interesting. And we can slide between positions. All right, so just work on creating your own lead lines. You can confine yourself to just position 5. You can add in 4. You can add in position 1. Create your own lead lines, but just take care when you're doing it to make it something that's pleasant to listen to, and you can help that along by adding in some of these other techniques that we've talked about. All right, so now let's learn some of these exercises. We'll go through them on the next tutorial, and then we'll play them with the jam along track. All right, now we're going to learn some exercises that are going to help us really drill these hammer-on and pull-off techniques under our fingers, and it's also going to help us build up our finger strength. I'm going to teach them to you in position 5, pentatonic in the key of C, or A blues, but if you really want to get after it and get your fingers feeling good and strengthening, you can run it here, then you can go up, you can go all the way up the neck, right? You can play that position 5 shape all the way up and down, and you can even do it in other scale positions. So you can play, and then you can go all the way up and down with that one. So the possibilities are endless here, but I'm going to demonstrate them in position 5. We're going to start with some basic stuff and get a little bit harder as it goes on. Then we're going to play it all with the jam along track, and at the end, we're just going to noodle around, and we're going to experiment with creating some lead lines and some solos, some improvisation using especially the hammer-ons, but then also making it musical with these other techniques. First exercise we're going to do is just go up and down the scale using hammer-ons, and then we're going to do it double time. So we're going to go half speed at first, all hammer-ons. You don't need the bar for this part, and we're going to come back down. Then we're going to do it double time, twice as fast. All right, that one's pretty straightforward, right? Then we're going to do a 3 up and 1 back. So we're going to go up 3 strings, and then back, and then back 1, back 1. So we're going up 3 strings, back 1, and repeating. And you can use the bar here. Then we'll go back down. We're going to go 3 down, back, and repeat. Back 1, back 1. So for this next one, we're going to do the hammer-on and pull-off combo, and we're just going to go down. We're going to go down 4 strings, then come back 2 and repeat it. So we'll do this. Then back to the B string. Back to the G string. Then we'll end it with, just to keep it musical, 5th fret of A, 5th fret of low E. And then we're gonna just jam for a little while, and it won't be, all of what I just played is tabbed out beneath the video player. The jamming, we're not gonna tab out. And then I'm gonna include the background track so you can just jam. And just create some, create some lead lines and make it fun, make it musical, and use these hammer-ons and pull-offs. So here we go, let's turn on the track. All right, we're just gonna go up and down without using the bar, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, go. And double time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, bar it. Now we're going to go 3 up and 1 string back. We don't need a bar, we'll go slow. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, go. This time we will bar it and we will go double time. All right. Now we're going to do the hammer-on and pull-off combo. We're going to go down 4, up 2. Let's do it again. All right, now we're just going to jam. All right, now we're just going to jam a little bit. I'll play a little bit over the track, and then we'll put just the track up, and you can craft some lines on